What's up everyone, Darcblade here bringing you another Mass Effect 3 multiplayer class guide. Today we are going to be taking a look at another Reckoning DLC character, the Krogan Warlord Sentinel. The Krogan Warlord comes with a battle hammer, and thus this gives him the potential of being one of the best melee classes in the game. Add to this, he is also the only Krogan in the game that has the ability to regenerate his own health. Now, as with all my characters, I spec them for the harder difficulties in the game. I put points into tech armor going up to rank 5. I put points into melee damage over power damage, although both choices are viable. Power damage will actually increase the effectiveness of your electric and biotic hammer abilities. But in the end, I went for melee damage because almost everything the Krogan Warlord does is melee based, or takes into account melee damage. As for rank 4, I put points into durability to give my Krogan Warlord that little bit of extra damage protection. As for Biotic Hammer, I put maximum points into this ability. I put points here into Power Hammer, although number of charges is just as good a choice, to be honest. Power Hammer does make your attack stronger when using Biotic Hammer, but I feel that sometimes the cooldown rate is a little bit too long, so number of charges could be more useful, especially if you use Biotic Hammer more often on weaker enemies. For rank 5, I put points into armor damage, as the Krogan Warlord has no way to set up his own biotic combos. And finally, I put points into damage and force over recharge speed. I put maximum points into electrical hammer, putting points into radius and combo over number of charges. I mainly put points into radius and combo simply because I want electrical hammer to be affecting multiple opponents who are close to me. Number of charges may not be as efficient because electrical hammer already comes with 2 charges, which is normally sufficient enough. As for rank 5, I put points into chill over fire damage simply because of the damage debuff that chill provides. And lastly, I put points into shields and barriers over radius. As for the Krogan Warlord's passive abilities, these, as I always say, are normally down to personal preference. I put points up to rank 3 in Krogan Warlord. As for Warlord Rage, I went for Pure Rage, Martial Artist and Durability. I was torn between durability and melee damage, but as I was already killing most enemies, well, lower enemies in one hit on gold mode, I felt it better to go for durability and give myself a little bit of extra health and shields. As for weaponry, I don't think it really matters what type of weapons you use. Don't weigh yourself down too much, but what you must do is try to equip your weapons with modifications that increase your melee or power damage capabilities. Now, let's get into the heart of the episode and talk about the Krogan Warlord Sentinel's moves and abilities. Its first move, the move that all Sentinels have, is Tech Armor. Once the Krogan Warlord activates his Tech Armor, it will encase him in holographic armor. This will provide extra damage protection. But as a result, it will also slow down his power speed by 50%. This means that you can't use your abilities as often as you normally would when you're not wearing tech armor. This being said, the benefits of actually wearing tech armor normally outweigh the benefits of not wearing it. On another side note, tech armor has a second function, and that is it can be detonated manually. If you use tech armor a second time whilst you've already got tech armor activated, then it will detonate it, causing an explosion around the Krogan Warlord. This explosion will damage and pretty much stagger any enemy. The only downside about activating your tech armor is you have to spend time reactivating it and reapplying the tech armor to your character. Of course, all these aspects can be modified by putting various points in the tech armor tree. Like I said at the start of the video, I like to put points into melee damage and durability. If I had more points, I would like to put points into power recharge to simply reduce the penalty you get when you're wearing your tech armor. Anyway, let's move on and talk about the second ability available to the Krogan Warlord, which is Biotic Hammer. This is a new move to the game, and no other class has this ability. Basically, the Krogan Warlord will charge his battle hammer with biotic energy. This will drastically increase the direct damage and force of your hammer attacks. Biotic Hammer is also highly effective against armor and barriers. Basically, the Krogan Warlord will reach for the handle of his battle hammer. He'll then charge it with biotic energy, making a purple ring or rings, depending how you spec, appear near the head of the hammer. This will mean that the Krogan Warlord's battle hammer is now a biotic hammer. And when you use either the Krogan Warlord's heavy melee or the light melee combo, you will use one charge of the Biotic Hammer. Now, the Biotic Hammer itself seems very efficient at boss killing. It seems the best option when you want to bring down bosses quickly. This is because that the Biotic Hammer is most effective when fighting opponents who have armor, and these boss creatures normally always have armor. Biotic Hammer can also be used to set off combos, both tech and biotic. Unfortunately, the Krogan Warlord has no way of setting up his own biotic combos. The biggest downside about Biotic Hammer is that it only comes with one charge by default. You can change this with the Biotic Hammer talent tree, but by doing so you will sacrifice the Power Hammer ability. However, I personally will probably change from Power Hammer to number of charges, simply because I found that when I have 2 charges on my hammer, then I don't have to worry about the power recharge timer too much when using Biotic Hammer. Once I've actually spent both charges, then the power is ready to activate again. If I only have 1 charge, then it normally means waiting for the power to come off cooldown before I can use it again. Anyway, let's move on and talk about the Krogan Warlord's third and final ability, the Electrical Hammer. The principle of this is pretty much the same as the Biotic Hammer, except it's a tech-based move. The Krogan Warlord will charge his Battle Hammer with electrical energy, making all hammer impacts do electrical damage in a large area while stunning enemies. The Electrical Hammer is very effective against shields and barriers. So basically, the Electrical Hammer works in pretty much the same way as the Biotic Hammer. The Krogan Warlord will reach up to the hammer's handle, charge it with electrical energy, making orange rings this time appear near the hammer's head. These charges will be spent every time you do a heavy melee or do the light melee combo. Now, the Electrical Hammer seems to be best directed against weaker opponents. The fact that it has a large area of effect and it can also stun weaker opponents also helps. The Electrical Hammer, I find, will actually one-shot most weaker opponents. Now, one of the reasons why I would probably use the Electrical Hammer over the Biotic Hammer against weaker opponents is that by default it comes with 2 charges, unlike the Biotic Hammer which only comes with 1. A great fact about the Electrical Hammer is that thanks to the 5th rank in the Electrical Hammer tree, Fire Damage and Chill, you can set up fire explosions or cryo explosions. Basically, hit an opponent with the Electrical Hammer with the element of your choice, either fire damage or chill, and then follow that up with a Biotic Hammer, or maybe from an ability from a teammate, and this will activate the tech combo. However, out of these 2 talents, I believe that Chill is far superior, simply because it increases all damage to the target by 20% for 5 seconds. This means that it benefits you as well as all your teammates. As for the passive abilities, you have Krogan Warlord, which basically increases your weapon damage and your power damage abilities. As for the second passive ability, Warlord Rage, this is very similar to the normal Krogan Rage, but it's more enhanced. It boosts health, shields, melee damage and durability, but Warlord Rage will also regenerate the health of the Krogan Warlord. So basically it's an enhanced rage mode too. So you're only required to kill 2 enemies using melee within 45 seconds to go into this rage mode, which is a frenzy, which increases your melee damage even further. It reduces the damage you take, and it also boosts your health regeneration. This can be augmented even further, so you're actually only required to get 1 melee kill in order to activate rage mode. As for the Krogan Warlord's racial abilities, they're slightly different from the normal Krogan. This is because the Krogan Warlord is a lot bigger. As a result, he moves a lot slower, he can't take cover or duck behind objects. He also comes with no dodge mechanic whatsoever, but this is complemented by the fact that he is the only Krogan with health regeneration, and he also comes with high health and high shields. His melee attacks are one of the strongest in the game too, thanks to the Battle Hammer. His heavy melee involves him slamming his hammer into the ground. This of course can take on various properties depending if you use Biotic or Electrical Hammer. He also comes with a very high damaging 3-hit combo, with the final hit of that 3-hit combo using a charge from Biotic or Electrical Hammer. This 3-hit combo is simply done by tapping the light melee button. His normal light melee on its own is simply the Krogan headbutt, the same as all the other Krogans in the game. Lastly, the Krogan Warlord still comes with the Krogan charge. This is activated when you're sprinting towards an opponent and press the heavy melee button. Now, one thing you should be very wary of is that even though the Krogan Warlord is big and tough, has health regeneration, all good stuff, he is not immune to sync kills. So Banshees and Nat can still pick him up and insta-kill him, so be wary when faced with these enemies. So, the Krogan Warlord, a great character to play, lots of fun. Now as long as you can keep Rage mode up, you'll be able to dish out a lot of melee damage, and take a lot of punishment. Be wary though of enemies who can sync kill you though. Also be aware that you're not invincible. Even with your health regeneration at its highest, concentrated fire will still bring you down, so pick your targets wisely when trying to engage them in melee combat. Anyway, I've been Darcblade, bringing you my guide to the Krogan Warlord on Mass Effect 3's multiplayer. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.